And I will share my screen and we will start reading. And let's see, we are right here, chapter 23, The War Against Yourself, the introduction. Do you not see the opposite of frailty and weakness is sinlessness? Innocence is strength, and nothing else is strong. The sinless cannot fear, for sin of any kind is weakness. The show of strength attack would use to cover frailty conceals it not. For how can the unreal be hidden? No one is strong who has an enemy, and no one can attack unless he thinks he has. Belief in enemies is therefore the belief in weakness, and what is weak is not the will of God. Being opposed to it, it is God's enemy, and God is feared as an opposing will. How strange indeed becomes this war against yourself. You will believe that everything you use for sin can hurt you and become your enemy, and you will fight against it and try to weaken it because of this. And you will think that you succeeded and attack again. It is as certain you will fear what you attack as it is sure that you will love what you perceive as sinless. He walks in peace who travels sinlessly along the way love shows him. For love walks with him there, protecting him from fear. And he will see only the sinless who cannot attack. Walk you in glory with your head held high and fear no evil. The innocent are safe because they share their innocence. Nothing they see is harmful, for their awareness of the truth releases everything from the illusion of harmfulness. And what seemed harmful now stands shining in their innocence, released from sin and fear, and happily returned to love. They share the strength of love because they looked on innocence, and every error disappeared because they saw it not. Who looks for glory finds it where it is. Where could it be but in the innocent? Let not the little interferers pull you to littleness. There can be no attraction of guilt in innocence. Think what a happy world you walk with truth beside you. Do not give up this world of freedom for a little sigh of seeming sin, nor for a tiny stirring of guilt's attraction. Would you, for all these meaningless distractions, lay heaven aside? Your destiny and purpose are far beyond them, in the clean place where littleness does not exist. Your purpose is at variance with littleness of any kind, and so it is at variance with sin. Let us not let littleness lead God's Son into temptation. His glory is beyond it, measureless and timeless as eternity. Do not let time intrude upon your sight of him. Leave him not frightened and alone in his temptation, but help him rise above it and perceive the light of which he is a part. Your innocence will light the way to his, and so is yours protected and kept in your awareness. For who can know his glory and perceive the little and the weak about him? Who can walk trembling in a fearful world and realize that heaven's glory shines on him? Nothing around you but is part of you. Look on it lovingly and see the light of heaven in it. So will you come to understand all that is given you. In kind forgiveness will the world sparkle and shine, and everything you once thought sinful now will be reinterpreted as part of heaven. How beautiful it is to walk, clean and redeemed and happy, through a world in bitter need of redemption that your innocence bestows upon it. What can you value more than this? For here is your salvation and your freedom, and it must be complete if you would recognize it. Such a good reminder right? And you think about all the little things that you get pulled into, that the ego pulls you into and makes you want to be a part of the littleness. You know, all of the little disputes and the little things that ruffle your feathers, instead of seeing yourself in all of the glory and the light that you are. You get pulled into this feeling of weakness and littleness, wanting to engage in the battle. Anybody have any comments about that? All righty then, I am going to keep reading. We will go on to the irreconcilable beliefs. The memory of God comes to the quiet mind. It cannot come where there is conflict. For a mind at war against itself remembers not eternal gentleness. The means of war are not the means of peace, and what the warlike would remember is not love. War is impossible unless belief in victory is cherished. Conflict within you must imply that you believe the ego has the power to be victorious. Why else would you identify with it? Surely you realize the ego is at war with God. Certain it has no enemy. Yet just as certain is its fixed belief it has an enemy that it must overcome and will succeed. Do you not realize a war against yourself would be a war on God? Is victory conceivable? And if it were, is this a victory that you would want? The death of God, if it were possible, would be your death. Is this a victory? The ego always marches to defeat because it thinks that triumph over you is possible, and God thinks otherwise. This is no war, only the mad belief the will of God can be attacked and overthrown. You may identify with this belief, but never will it be more than madness, and fear will reign in madness and will seem to have replaced love there. This is the conflict's purpose. And to those who think that it is possible, the means seem real. Be certain that it is impossible God and the ego, or yourself and it, will ever meet. You seem to meet and make your strange alliances on grounds that have no meaning, for your beliefs converge upon the body, the ego's chosen home, which you believe is yours. You meet at a mistake, an error in your self-appraisal. The ego joins with an illusion of yourself. You share with it. And yet, illusions cannot join. They are the same, and they are nothing. Their joining lies in nothingness. Two are as meaningless as one or as 1,000. The ego joins with nothing, being nothing. The victory it seeks is meaningless as itself. Brother, the war against yourself is almost over. The journey's end is at the place of peace. Would you not now accept the peace offered you here? This enemy you fought as an intruder on your peace is here transformed before your sight into the giver of your peace. Your enemy was God himself, to whom all conflict, triumph, and attack of any kind are all unknown. He loves you perfectly, completely, and eternally. The Son of God at war with his Creator is a condition as ridiculous as nature roaring at the wind in anger, proclaiming it is part of itself no more. Could nature possibly establish this and make it true? Nor is it up to you to say what shall be part of you and what is kept apart. The war against yourself was undertaken to teach the Son of God that he is not himself and not his Father's Son. For this, the memory of his Father must be forgotten. It is forgotten in the body's life, and if you think you are a body, you will believe you have forgotten it. Yet truth can never be forgotten by itself, and you have not forgotten what you are. Only a strange illusion of yourself, a wish to triumph over what you are, remembers not. The war against yourself is but the battle of two illusions, struggling to make them different from each other, in the belief that the one that conquers will be true. There is no conflict between them and the truth, nor are they different from each other. Both are not true. And so it matters not what form they take. What made them is insane, and they remain part of what made them. Madness holds out no menace to reality and has no influence upon it. Illusions cannot triumph over truth, nor can they threaten it in any way. And the reality that they deny is not a part of them. What you remember is a part of you, for you must be as God created you. Truth does not fight against illusions, nor do illusions fight against truth. Illusions battle only with themselves. Being fragmented, they fragment. But truth is indivisible and far beyond their little reach. You will remember what you know when you have learned that you cannot be in conflict. One illusion about yourself can battle with another, yet the war of two illusions is a state where nothing happens. There is no victor and there is no victory. And truth stands radiant, apart from conflict, untouched and quiet in the peace of God. Conflict must be between two forces. It cannot exist between one power and nothingness. There's nothing you could attack that is not part of you. And by attacking it, you make two illusions of yourself in conflict with each other. And this occurs whenever you look on anything that God created with anything but love. Conflict is fearful, for it is the birth of fear. Yet what is born of nothing cannot win reality through battle. Why would you fill your world with conflicts with yourself? Let all this madness be undone for you and turn in peace to the remembrance of God, still shining in your quiet mind. See how the conflict of illusions disappears when it is brought to truth. For it seems real only as long as it is seen as war between conflicting truths. Conqueror to be truer, the more real, and the vanquisher of the illusion that was less real, made an illusion by defeat. Thus, conflict is the choice between illusions. One to be crowned is real, the other vanquished and despised. Here will the Father never be remembered. Yet, no illusion can invade his home and drive him out of what he loves forever. And what he loves must be forever quiet and at peace, because it is his home. You who are beloved of him are no illusion, being as true and holy as himself. The stillness of your certainty of him and of yourself is home to both of you who dwell as one and not apart. Open the door of his most holy home and let forgiveness sweep away all trace of the belief in sin that keeps God homeless and his Son with him. You are not a stranger in the house of God. Welcome your brother to the home where God has sent him in serenity and peace and dwells with him. Illusions have no place where love abides, protecting you from everything that is not true. You dwell in peace as limitless as its creator, and everything is given those who would remember him. Over his home, the Holy Spirit watches, sure that its peace can never be disturbed. How can the resting place of God turn on itself and seek to overcome the one who dwells there? And think what happens when the house of God perceives itself divided. The altar disappears. The light grows dim. The temple of the Holy One becomes a house of sin. And nothing is remembered except illusions. Illusions can conflict because their forms are different. And they do battle only to establish which form is true. Illusion meets illusion. Truth itself. The meeting of illusions leads to war. Peace, looking on itself, extends itself. War is the condition in which fear is born and grows and seeks to dominate. Peace is the state where love abides and seeks to share itself. Conflict and peace are opposites. Where one abides, the other cannot be. Where either goes, the other disappears. So is the memory of God obscured in minds that have become illusion's battleground. Yet far beyond this senseless war, it shines, ready to be remembered, when you side with peace. Such a good reminder, right? In the everyday little battlegrounds of the ego, they try to pull you into their little conflicts and disagreements and disturbances. When you forget who you are and you think you're a body. And then you have to remember to pull yourself out and just side with peace and love. I've done that many times when I've been in the midst of conflicts in the ego, when you just take that minute to consciously say no, to consciously pull yourself out of the battle and align with love. And it's amazing what happens, because your illusory ego mind is still wanting to do battle. Yet when you align with love and you don't do battle, it's like it just stops. The conflict just ends, because there's no participation in the illusion anymore. There's no participation in the battle. There's just a sense of peace. It's like giving it over to the Holy Spirit. Let go, let God, right? Because in essence, you are God. That's why you can't be at war. It's the illusion of being at war. It's the illusion that you're a body that makes us feel that we're in conflict. And it's always that conscious choice to align with love and with peace. And then the conflict just disappears.
Yes. And what you mentioned, that when you held your granddaughter, how all of a sudden she became calm and at peace because you were there. You're in that frame, you're in that feeling.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with animals, they sense that fear, they sense the peace also.
Yep. It's funny too, because I've been connecting more and more with not only with animals, but even with like insects and reptiles. I actually even had a praying mantis come up to me when I was on the rail trail up in New York, going for a walk. It just was in front of me and it just wanted to come to me. And I put my hand down and it walked right up my hand and up on my shoulder and just hung out with me. And it's so interesting when you open yourself up to that communion with all things, with all beings, and with nature, and with the trees and the air, which is all part of the God substance, right, that we are. I did that with a lizard down here. I was so surprised. And it like was looking at me. I go, do you want to come up here? And I put my hand down and he climbed up on my hand. And usually lizards like run away, right? These little lizards you see on the sidewalks. He just came up and hung out with me, and I like couldn't even shake him off of me. He just wanted to like hang out. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes, you're right, Ernesto, it goes back to your alignment, right? When you align with love and become that, there is no conflict.
Yep.
Yeah, really interesting. And it's fun to play with that, right? To experiment with it.
Yep.
And jump into it. Say, ooh, I wonder what will happen if I do this.
Yeah, this time of year, a lot of the flies come inside, and I'm able to kind of escort them out without too much fanfare.
Yeah.
Even with bees, bees come around and people freak out, and you have to be careful. I mean, I know that they can be dangerous to some people,
Right.
but if you show that fear, they can hurt you. They can hurt you, and it's only because they're picking up on the fear.
Right. You're aligning with the illusion within them, which is still you, right? Because we're making it all up.
Well, yeah, I mean, even with this dog, this dog is super hyper, and sometimes when he sees an animal out there, he's going berserk, and if I come up behind him and scare him, he'll turn around and nip me, or he'll protect himself. So I have to come up real close, just like nonchalant, just grab him, put him on my chest, take him out to the back. He's been a challenging, but he's different now. I mean, he's still like that. He's still hyper, but he's just really being protective. Mm-hmm. And I'm still working it. I mean, he's a good challenge for me to stay calm when he's going nuts.
He's your guru.
Yeah, he is. I got him here now because he's been, we've had rain here. Luckily, we've had some rain and everything is turning back green, especially the lawns, right? But so critters come out and I can tell by what's out there by the way he's barking. Mm. I'm already tuned to his actions or his bark.
Right.
So I stay calm. I grab him, I bring him back there. I don't yell at him or nothing. I just look at him like, I try to do hand signals. See if he'll pick up on that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's fun.
Yeah. Everything is energy, right? Yeah. Good to have you here, Liz. We are just in chapter 23. We just started reading it today. So we are on page 489 in the book. We'll be reading section 2, the laws of chaos, next. It's been some interesting discussion. Anybody else have anything they want to share with what we just read? Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen again. The laws of chaos. The laws of chaos can be brought to light, though never understood. The chaotic laws are hardly meaningful and therefore out of reason's sphere. Yet they appear to be an obstacle to reason and to truth. Let us then look upon them calmly, that we may look beyond them, understanding what they are, not what they would maintain. It is essential it be understood what they are for, because it is their purpose to make meaningless and to attack the truth. Here are the laws that rule the world you made, and yet they govern nothing and need not be broken, merely looked upon and gone beyond. The first chaotic law is that the truth is different for everyone. Like all these principles, this one maintains that each is separate and has a different set of thoughts that set him off from others. This principle evolves from the belief that there is a hierarchy of illusions. Some are more valuable and therefore true. Each one establishes this for himself and makes it true by his attack on what another values. And this is justified because the values differ, and those who hold them seem to be unlike, and therefore enemies. Think how this seems to interfere with the first principle of miracles. For this establishes degrees of truth among illusions, making it seem that some of them are harder to overcome than others. If it were realized that they are all the same and equally untrue, it would be easy then to understand that miracles apply to all of them. Errors of any kind can be corrected because they are untrue. When brought to truth instead of to each other, they merely disappear. No part of nothing can be more resistant to the truth than can another. The second law of chaos, dear indeed to every worshiper of sin, is that each one must sin and therefore deserves attack and death. This principle, closely related to the first, is the demand that errors call for punishment and not correction. For the destruction of the one who makes the error places him beyond correction and beyond forgiveness. What he has done is thus interpreted as an irrevocable sentence upon himself, which God himself is powerless to overcome. Sin cannot be remitted, being the belief the Son of God can make mistakes for which his own destruction becomes inevitable. Think what this seems to do to the relationship between the Father and the Son. Now it appears that they can never be one again, for one must always be condemned by the other. Now are they different and enemies? And the relationship is one of opposition, just as the separate aspects of the Son meet only to conflict, but not to join. One becomes weak, the other strong by his defeat. And fear of God and of each other now appears as sensible, made real by what the Son of God has done, both to himself and his Creator. The arrogance on which the laws of chaos stand could not be more apparent than emerges here. Here's a principle that would define what the Creator of reality must be, what he must think and what he must believe, and how he must respond believing it. It is not seen as even necessary that he be asked about the truth of what has been established for his belief. His Son can tell him this, and he has but the choice whether to take his word for it or be mistaken. This leads directly to the third preposterous belief that seems to make chaos eternal. For if God cannot be mistaken, he must accept his Son's belief in what he is and hate him for it. See how the fear of God is reinforced by this third principle? Now it becomes impossible to turn to him for help in misery. For now he has become the enemy who caused it, to whom appeal is useless. Nor can salvation lie within the Son, whose every aspect seems to be at war with him and justified in its attack. And now is conflict made inevitable, beyond the help of God. For now salvation must remain impossible, because the Savior has become the enemy. There can be no release and no escape. At one minute, thus becomes a myth, and vengeance, not forgiveness, is the will of God. From where all this begins, there is no sight of help that can succeed. Only destruction can be the outcome. And God himself seems to be siding with it to overcome his Son. Think not the ego will enable you to find escape from what it wants. That is the function of this course, which does not value what the ego cherishes. The ego values only what it takes. This leads to the fourth law of chaos, which, if the others are accepted, must be true. This seeming law is the belief that you have what you have taken. By this, another's loss becomes your gain, and thus it fails to recognize that you can never take away save from yourself. Yet all the other laws must lead to this. For enemies do not give willingly to one another, nor would they seek to share the things they value. And what your enemies would keep from you must be worth having, because they keep it hidden from your sight. All of the mechanisms of madness are seen emerging here. The enemy made strong by keeping hidden the valuable inheritance that should be yours, your justified position in attack for what has been withheld, and the inevitable loss the enemy must suffer to save yourself. Thus do the guilty ones protest their innocence. Were they not forced into this foul attack by the unscrupulous behavior of the enemy, they would respond with only kindness. But in a savage world, the kind cannot survive, so they must take, or else be taken from. And now there is a vague unanswered question, not yet explained. What is this precious thing, this priceless pearl, this hidden secret treasure to be wrested in righteous wrath from this most treacherous and cunning enemy? It must be what you want, but never found. And now you understand the reason why you found it not. For it was taken from you by this enemy and hidden where you would not think to look. He hid it in his body, making it the cover for his guilt, the hiding place of what belongs to you. Now must his body be destroyed and sacrificed, that you may have that which belongs to you. His treachery demands his death, that you may live. And you attack only in self-defense. But what is it you want that needs his death? Can you be sure your murderous attack is justified unless you know what it is for? And here, a final principle of chaos comes to the rescue. It holds there is a substitute for love. This is the magic that will cure all your pain, the missing factor in your madness that makes it sane. This is the reason why you must attack. Here is what makes your vengeance justified. Behold, unveiled, the ego's secret gift, torn from your brother's body, hidden there in malice and in hatred for the one to whom the gift belongs. He would deprive you of the secret ingredient that would give meaning to your life, the substitute for love, born of your enmity to your brother. Must be salvation. It has no substitute, and there is only one, and all your relationships have but the purpose of seizing it and making it your own. Never is your possession made complete. Never will your brother cease his attack on you for what you stole, nor will God end his vengeance upon both, for in his madness he must have this substitute for love and kill you both. You who believe you walk in sanity, with feet on solid ground and through a world where meaning can be found, consider this. There are the laws on which your sanity appears to rest. These are the principles which make the ground beneath your feet seem solid, and it is here you look for meaning. These are the laws you made for your salvation. They hold in place the substitute for heaven, which you prefer. This is their purpose. They were made for this. There is no point in asking what they mean. That is apparent. The means of madness must be insane. Are you as certain that you realize the goal is madness? No one wants madness, nor does anyone cling to his madness if he sees that this is what it is. What protects madness is the belief that it is true. It is the function of insanity to take the place of truth. It must be seen as truth to be believed. And if it is the truth, then must its opposite, which was the truth before, be madness now. Such a reversal, completely turned around, with madness, sanity, illusions, true, attack, a kindness, hatred, love, and murder, benediction, is the goal the laws of chaos serve. These are the means by which the laws of God appear to be reversed. Here do the laws of sin appear to hold love captive and let sin go free. These do not seem to be the goals of chaos, for by the great reversal, they appear to be the laws of order. How could it not be so? Chaos is lawlessness and has no laws. To be believed, its seeming laws must be perceived as real. Their goal of madness must be seen as sanity. And fear, with ashen lips and sightless eyes, blinded and terrible to look upon, is lifted to the throne of love, its dying conqueror, its substitute, the savior from salvation. How lovely do the laws of fear make death appear. Give thanks unto the hero on love's throne, who saved the Son of God for fear of death. And yet, how can it be that laws like these can be believed? There's a strange device that makes it possible. Nor is it unfamiliar. We have seen how it appears to function many times before. In truth, it does not function. Yet in dreams, where only shadows play the major roles, it seems most powerful. No law of chaos could compel belief, but for the emphasis on form and disregard of content. No one who thinks that one of these laws is true sees what it says. Some forms it takes seem to have meaning, and that is all. How can some forms of murder not mean death? Can an attack in any form be love? What form of condemnation is a blessing? Who makes his Savior powerless and finds salvation? Let not the form of the attack on him deceive you. You cannot seek to harm him and be saved. Who can find safety from attacking by turning on himself? How can it matter what the form this madness takes? It is a judgment that defeats itself, condemning what it says it wants to save. Be not deceived when madness takes a form you think is lovely. What is intent on your destruction is not your friend. You would maintain and think it true that you do not believe these senseless laws nor act upon them. And when you look at what they say, they cannot be believed. Brother, you do believe them. For how else could you perceive the form they take with content such as this? Can any form of this be tenable? Yet you believe them for the form they take and do not recognize the content. It never changes. Can you paint rosy lips upon a skeleton, dress it in loveliness, pet it and pamper it and make it live? And can you be content with an illusion that you are living? There is no life outside of heaven. Where God created life, there life must be. In any state apart from heaven, life is illusion. At best, it seems like life. At worst, like death. Yet both are judgments on what is not life, equal in their accuracy and lack of meaning. Life not in heaven is impossible, and what is not in heaven is not anywhere. Outside of heaven, only the conflict of illusion stands, senseless, impossible, and beyond all reason, and yet perceived as an eternal barrier to heaven. Illusions are but forms. Their content is never true. The laws of chaos govern all illusions. Their forms conflict, making it seem quite possible to value some above the others. Yet each one rests as surely on the belief the laws of chaos are the laws of order, as do the others. Each one upholds these laws completely, offering a certain witness that these laws are true. The seeming gentler forms of the attack are no less certain in their witnessing or their results. Certain it is illusions will bring fear because of the beliefs that they imply, not for their form, and lack of faith and love in any form attests to chaos as reality. From the belief in sin, the faith in chaos must follow. It is because it follows that it seems to be a logical conclusion, a valid step in ordered thought. The steps to chaos do follow neatly from their starting point. Each is a different form in the progressions of truth's reversal, leading still deeper into terror and away from truth. Think not one step is smaller than another, nor that return from one is easier. The whole descent from heaven lies in each one, and where your thinking starts, there must it end. Brother, take not one step in the descent to hell, for having taken one, you will not recognize the rest for what they are, and they will follow. Attack in any form has placed your foot upon the twisted stairway that leads from heaven. Yet any instant, it is possible to have all this undone. How can you know whether you choose the stairs to heaven or to hell? Quite easily. How do you feel? Is peace in your awareness? Are you certain which way to go? And are you sure the goal of heaven can be reached? If not, you walk alone. Ask then your friend to join with you and give you certainty of where you go. Oh, that's so good. So good. It just takes that one little step, right? That one little step into fear, that one little alignment with illusion, one little alignment with the ego. And then the rest follow easily. That's why it's so easy to get off the track. I think that's why I love lesson 365 so much. It always brings me back. This holy instant I give to you, be you in charge. That's the friend they're talking about. Ask your friend to go with you. This holy instant I give to you, be you in charge, for I shall follow you, certain that your direction will bring me peace. Anytime you're unsure, anytime you feel that little tinge of fear or guilt or uneasiness, anytime you're not in peace, just say lesson 365. It's a great mantra. Because the ego will never tell you the truth. The ego will never be good for advice. Whenever you're in fear and you start asking the ego for advice, it just brings you down that road further and further away from peace. I like Carol gave us that example a few months ago, and I've been using it every day and every night. And I just say, I give my mind to the Holy Spirit so I can walk in peace. And then when I go to bed at night, I say, I give my mind to the Holy Spirit so I can rest in peace. And it's just giving that mind, aligning your mind with love, being conscious about where you choose your next thought to come from in your alignment. That connection. We all have that choice, right? 60,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts. That's a lot of choices. It's a lot of opportunity to go down the wrong path. And let's not forget all of the other people that are talking to us all day long, right? Trying to pull us in that path. Follow me. Listen to this. Complaints, right? I always say, I'm not the complaint department. As soon as you open yourself up for being the complaint department, you open yourself up to take that path into fear, down the ego's pathway and away from peace.
So what time is it?
Did you have a question, Mary?
No, not yet.
Yeah, or comment? All right. We have 15 more minutes. Anybody have any comments about what we just read? Boy, that was a long section. No?
Maybe just that when we're looking outside for the answers, we wind up honoring or admiring the one who is creating the examples for us, like a unity lesson that was taught at one point by Jerry, in fact, was about how he became very impressed with his chemistry teacher showing an experiment, but it was before he was actually just in elementary school. And so you become so impressed with the miracle or the miracle worker that you lose sight of the fact that they're just demonstrating a fact and not really doing something that you can't do. And so in all of our worship of Jesus and all of that, we just separated. He was here to give us a message that, and showing us things that we could do as well, and even in greater numbers and have more power, but we didn't see it that way. And so we separated and worshiped him as being the miracle worker in a sense.
It's a great point, Mary. And you know, it's interesting because I saw that too when I went to see my daughter. And there's so much information out there now. You know, I mean, back when I was having my children, we didn't have the internet to look up and Google information and ask questions. You know, there wasn't all of this, you know, you need to know this, you need to do it this way, you need to have this, that, and the other. And I saw the disempowering that brings on these young mothers, right? Because they feel like they have to get it right and they don't have the answers, and everyone out there has the right answer. It's all about, you know, understanding, like you said, Mary, that we have the knowledge, we have the power. And if we can observe these miracles instead of seeing them as, oh, that's the miracle worker, you know, we could interpret them as, oh, I can do that too. How do I do that? How can I create this? How can I, you know, expand my awareness so that I can create this and empower myself to do this thing, or to have this ability to connect and to share and to, you know, be at peace and joy and love in this world. So yeah, that's a good point. To see beyond the illusion of the disempowerment and to see the miracle of, oh, if they can do that, then I can do that. And we can all do that, and we can share in it. And it's not about taking it, like we just read, it's not about taking it for ourselves and taking it from someone else. It's more like a sharing and a giving and saying, oh, and I'll give this to you and you can have this power too. And then you can share it and show others how to do this thing and experience the expansion.
And even if you don't have that particular power, or you don't recognize it, you have it, but you haven't developed it yet and, you know, become really aware of it, but you have others, and it's a matter of using our God gifts to the best that we can. And then you go from just playing your own little violin to being part of a symphony, because everything works together as a whole. So I'm always saying this, when you look at things as a whole and you're an individuation of that whole, instead of a separate individual, everything changes.
So true. I love that. Well, I have a little section to read next, Salvation Without Compromise. Shall I go ahead? We have 10 more minutes, 9 more minutes. All right. Take that as a yes. Salvation without compromise. It is not true you do not recognize some of the forms attack can take. Oh, is it not true? Is it not true you do not recognize some of the forms attack can take? If it is true, attack in any form will hurt you and will do so just as much as in another form that you do recognize, then it must follow that you do not always recognize the source of pain. Attack in any form is equally destructive. Its purpose does not change. Its sole intent is murder. And what form of murder serves to cover the massive guilt and frantic fear of punishment the murderer must feel? He may deny he is a murderer and justify his savagery with smiles as he attacks. Yet he will suffer and will look on his intent in nightmares, where the smiles are gone and where the purpose rises to meet his horrified awareness and pursue him still. For no one thinks of murder and escapes the guilt the thought entails. If the intent is death, what matter the form it takes? Is death in any form, however lovely and charitable it may seem to be, a blessing and a sign the voice for God speaks through you to your brother? The wrapping does not make the gift you give. An empty box, however beautiful and gently given, still contains nothing. And neither the receiver nor the giver is long deceived. Withhold forgiveness from your brother, and you attack him. You give him nothing, and receive of him but what you gave. Salvation is no compromise of any kind. To compromise is to accept but part of what you want, to take a little and give up the rest. Salvation gives up nothing. It is complete for everyone. Let the idea of compromise but enter, and the awareness of salvation's purpose is lost because it is not recognized. It is denied where compromise has been accepted. For compromise is the belief salvation is impossible. It would maintain you can attack a little, love a little, and know the difference. Thus, it would teach a little of the same can still be different, and yet the same remain intact as one. Does this make sense? Can it be understood? This course is easy just because it makes no compromise. Yet it seems difficult to those who still believe that compromise is possible. They do not see that if it is, salvation is attack. Yet it is certain the belief that salvation is impossible cannot uphold a quiet, calm assurance it has come. Forgiveness cannot be withheld a little, nor is it possible to attack for this and love for that and understand forgiveness. Would you not want to recognize assault upon your peace in any form? If only thus does it become impossible that you lose sight of it. It can be kept shining before your vision, forever clear and never out of sight, if you defend it not. Those who believe that peace can be defended and that attack is justified on its behalf cannot perceive it lies within them. How could they know? Could they accept forgiveness side by side with the belief that murder takes some forms by which their peace is saved? Would they be willing to accept the fact their savage purpose is directed against themselves. No one unites with enemies, nor is at one with them in purpose. And no one compromises with an enemy, but hates him still for what he kept from him. Mistake not truce for peace, nor compromise for the escape from conflict. To be released from conflict means that it is over. The door is open. You have left the battleground. You have not lingered there in cowering hope that it will not return because the guns are stilled an instant and the fear that haunts the place of death is not apparent. There is no safety in a battleground. You can look down on it in safety from above and not be touched, but from within it, you can find no safety. Not one tree left still standing will shelter you. Not one illusion of protection stands against the faith in murder. Here stands the body, torn between the natural desire to communicate and the unnatural intent to murder and to die. Think you the form that murder takes can offer safety? Can guilt be absent from the battlefield? Bum, bum, bum. That gives us some food for thought for next week. No peace in the battleground. It's all or nothing. Been a quiet bunch this week.
It's the fall coming upon us.
Is that what it is?
Or at least here I'm feeling it.
Oh,
The burning bushes are turning red.
that's right. That's right.
And rain is upon us finally.
There you go. Well, maybe it'll give you some beautiful fall foliage in October.
Yeah, it's been sporadic rain, but you can see it's increasing daily.
Yeah.
Yeah. That melancholy feeling, it's back to school days. Even though we're not in school, you can feel that, it stays with you. I guess that September feeling.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Good to have you back.
Thank you. It's great to be back. I'm sorry I've been away, and I appreciate you all showing up today. And I hope it didn't interfere too much with your regular studies. Hopefully you took your books out and did a little bit here and there while I was gone. But I know for me, it's important to stay connected because otherwise you just get pulled into the chaos and the drama so easily, right? If you forget to align yourself with peace and love and realize you have a choice. Realize that you're making it all up. It's your reality. You're creating it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like to think I'm still just winging it.
Well, it's been amazing. Thank you all for joining today. And I will see you next week.
Thank you
Ciao.
very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.